Mr. Mayor, what goes through your mind on the case of these three women today?
Well, it's hard to imagine what they actually went through. It really is. And I don't think, well, I know I don't have anything I can compare what I'm assuming their experience was over the last 10, 12 years. And so it's just hard to imagine what they actually went through. But it also speaks to the resiliency of the young ladies in that they survived it. It's something that should not happen, but it did happen. But at the end, they survived it. Now, the question is, how do we help them get to some level of normalcy in their lives, in body and in mind?
What can this community do to help them find normalcy if they can find it?
Well, I think one of the things we could do is give them some room. You can't imagine they were pretty smothered and controlled in the environment they just came from, and I don't think now that they're free from that we should substitute smothering them or controlling them in our own self-interest, so to speak. So I believe that as a community we should just give them some room to readjust to a different life, because 10, 12 years of what they probably went through, which I cannot imagine because I don't have anything to relate to that experience, but now they have to adjust to just a new life, and having one day or maybe 1 week, maybe 1 month, maybe 1 year, maybe 5 years, 10, what does that take? And I think we as a community need to respect them in terms of what they've been through, and respect them in terms of how they survived that, and respect them in terms of giving them the room that they need to recover.
Mayor, all this happened in our backyard.
Yes.
All this happened in our town.
Right.
Really not far from where these women were abducted as young girls. How does that register with you now?
Well, I don't, it would be nice if we lived in a world that these kind of things did not happen or could not happen. But if you look at the neighborhood, that community, it's a pretty good neighborhood, pretty good community. And these were people who weren't estranged from each other or isolated from each other. They knew each other, and they talked to each other. Even the person who owned and lived in the house that where the three ladies were kept, they all knew each other. But whenever you have a whole lifestyle built around concealment, and I'm pretty sure that this gentleman, had built his life around, how did he not let this be known? And when you have a community that is a good community like this is, that really has not isolated itself or isolated them, but they've interacted as a neighborhood, as a street. It's a difficult thing to talk about. How, I don't think this is isolated. There are many things that go on in people's homes that the world doesn't know about, and probably most of the stuff they shouldn't know about. But in this particular case, it was something that happened, and it wasn't a neighborhood that was a neighborhood who did not talk to each other, did not communicate with each other. So it's difficult to say how these kind of things can happen, because you just can't be in everybody's business all the time.
Mr. Charles Ramsey.
Yes.
The neighbor.
Yes.
Who we've heard ever since 9/11, see something, say something. He not only said something, he did something.
Yes.
What do you think about Mr. Charles Ramsey?
Well, he is part of the question someone asked me about how did the community respond. You know, how did Cleveland respond? And I said, you know, operationally in terms of police and public safety, they responded well. The community as a large has responded with open arms and really taken in the concern and the well-being of the 3 ladies involved in their family. And Mr. Ramsey responded as an individual. Somebody who could have just ignored it, but he didn't. Someone who saw someone in distress, did not know who they were or what they were stressing about, but he went to their aid, and as a result of that, he is assisted in saving the lives of these 3 women.
And become a hero himself.
That's right. Not trying to be one, just doing what he does. And as you know, that's how most heroes behave. They don't plan to be it. They just respond to a moment in a situation that they don't even think about it. They just do.
Have you talked to, I know you talk to police and all of that. Do you talk to people who are involved in the victims' lives and the healing aspect of their lives? Do you get a chance to talk to them?
Not directly, but I have been involved with people who have dealt with people who have gone through traumatic situations. You know, I know at the Rape Crisis Center, they do that quite often. I remember when there were the children killed on, I think it was West 80-something Street, and there was the mother and the children were killed by a husband or a strange boyfriend. And they're the people who deal with healing and the traumas of that kind of moment. They were right there, right on the spot. And I know that the FBI and the Cleveland Police Department have good relationships and contacts in that area.
Why did you want to sit down and talk today?
Well,
what prompted this?
Well, because it is something that we as a community should operate as a community. And we as a community, as I said earlier, should give the family and the 3 young ladies the kind of room that they need in order to adjust to a new life, to come out of a situation that they've been in for the last 10, 12 years and now be faced with, well, what are you going to do? And where are you going? How do you behave? How do you relate? How do you relate to family members? How do you relate to just people in general? So these are very deep kind of things that need some time to heal and to reorient and restabilize individuals. And I believe just as we as a community demonstrated our compassion and operationally we were there where we needed to be, did what we needed to do, and as individuals, as Mr. Ramsey did heroic things, I think we have the same responsibility as a community to allow the people that have become the victims of this heal, and we should assist in that.
Your heart goes out to them.
All the time.
Anything you want to say about the suspects who've been arrested?
No, we will let due process take its course.
Anything you want to talk about, anything else in this case?
No, the investigative side is being, right now the FBI and the Cleveland Division of Police are working in partnership. The FBI is lending its expertise to our department and assisting us in not just in the crime scene and forensic kind of stuff and evidence and facts, but I believe they'll probably be interviewing the suspects and interviewing the victims. So there's a lot of stuff going on now that we should be coming to some head soon.
All of this kind of, somebody said, hiding in plain sight.
Hey, that's what happens. And that's why it's not a judgment on that neighborhood or that community, because they're good people who live in that neighborhood and in that community.
Okay, over the shoulder.
Yeah, please, yeah, I'm gonna
people do over a period of time, people kind of adjust to individual quirks. And oh, that's just them,
Yeah.
or that's just him,
Yeah.
or something like that. And unless something happens that really brings ways in which we pay attention to things or not pay attention to things, and what's important to one person may not be important to another person. But in this case, from the nation to the man in the house.
Just another guy.
It's just another guy with a particular way of living. Very private about his stuff.
But right now, you want to put the emphasis, right now, you're putting this
That's
emphasis.
right.
And